$12,000. My VP just dropped that number like it was nothing. So Andrew, did you enjoy your bonus this year? The whole table went quiet. Problem was, I never saw a dime of it. My name's Andrew Mitchell. I'm 49, been doing operations management for over 20 years, and I thought I knew how corporate games worked. Turns out I didn't know anything. Jennifer Walsh, our VP of operations, was holding her wine glass like she'd just handed me the key to the kingdom. The holiday retreat was supposed to be fun, team building at some fancy resort outside Austin. Instead, I'm sitting there with my fork frozen halfway to my mouth while everyone stares at me like I'd won the lottery. I didn't get it, I said. Simple as that. That's when Sarah Collins from HR did something interesting. Her wine glass stopped moving. Just for a second, but I caught it. 20 years in corporate teaches you to read the room, and Sarah's micro-freeze told me everything I needed to know. She recovered fast, smiled, cleared her throat, started talking about the dessert menu. But I'd seen that look. Panic, just for a flash. My chest felt like someone had filled it with concrete. Matthew, my 17-year-old son, is starting college next year. Computer science at UT, if his grades hold up. That $12,000 wasn't just a bonus to me. It was his textbooks, dorm fees, maybe even a decent laptop. Money that, according to Jennifer, I should be grateful for, except it was sitting in someone else's account. I excused myself, headed to the bathroom, locked myself in a stall, and pulled out my phone. Our company payroll system is pretty straightforward when you know where to look. There it was. Holiday bonus, operations team, amount, $12,000, status, processed. My bank account told a different story. 0. Not pending, not delayed, just nothing. But that little code next to the transaction, that's what made my blood run cold. BN12, RETI pool, manual override. Manual overrides don't happen by accident. Someone had touched this transaction by hand. Someone decided my money needed to go somewhere else. Walking back into that dining room felt different now. Jennifer's laugh seemed louder. Sarah kept studying her napkin like it contained the secrets of the universe. Nobody made eye contact with me. In corporate speak, that's called avoiding liability. The drive home was quiet. My mind kept running the numbers. $12,000 processed but not delivered. Manual override. Retention pool. I'd seen enough system implementations to know what that meant. They had a shadow account somewhere, parking money they didn't want to pay out immediately. Back home, I sat at my kitchen table and opened my laptop. Checked the payroll system 3 more times. Same result every time. The money existed, it was mine, but somebody had redirected it. Matthew wandered into the kitchen around midnight, probably looking for leftover pizza. He's got my stubborn streak and his mother's common sense, dangerous combination. "Dad, you look like someone stole your lunch money." Something like that. He grabbed a Coke from the fridge. "Work stuff?" "Yeah, work stuff." He studied my face for a minute. Matthew's sharp. Gets the technical side from me, but he reads people better than I do. "You going to fix it?" "Working on it." Next morning, I crafted an email to Sarah. Kept it professional, no emotion. "Sarah, I believe there may have been an error with my holiday bonus. The payroll system shows BN12 as processed for $12,000, but no funds were deposited. Could you please confirm the status?" Her response came back in 28 minutes. I timed it. "Thanks for reaching out. This may be a processing delay with your bank. Please allow 1-2 business cycles and let us know if it hasn't posted." Standard corporate deflection. Blame the bank, buy time, hope the problem goes away. I wrote back immediately. My regular paycheck posted on time. Only the bonus is missing. Can you confirm it was actually transferred? Radio silence for the rest of the day. That evening, I called Rachel Martinez. We'd worked together at my previous company before she moved into corporate accounting. Rachel's one of those people who can spot financial irregularities from 3 states away. "Rachel, what does RETI pool mean on a payroll transaction?" Long pause. "Retention pool. Companies park bonuses there sometimes if they're worried about employee flight risk." "But Andrew, if it says manual override..." "Yeah? That means someone physically moved your money." "That's not automatic, that's deliberate." The word hit me like a slap. Deliberate. Moved it where? That's what you need to find out. Pull your pay stub again. Look for redistribution codes. I hung up and went back to the system. There it was. buried in the fine print. Redist exec, executive redistribution. They'd taken my son's college money and moved it to executive compensation. My hands started shaking, which surprised me. I thought I was too old to get this angry. The next morning brought another email from Sarah, all corporate polish and zero substance. Hi, Andrew. I checked with payroll and everything looks correct on our end. Sometimes larger bonuses are routed through secondary accounts for retention purposes. This is completely normal. Please wait until the next processing cycle. Retention purposes. I'd been with TechFlow for 8 years. My performance reviews were solid. My projects came in on time and under budget. Why would they need to retain me by stealing my own money? I opened Slack and messaged Kevin Brooks in payroll. Kevin and I had worked together on several system upgrades. He was the kind of guy who called things what they were. Kevin, quick question. What does manual override mean on a BN12 transaction? The typing indicator showed up, then disappeared, then showed up again. Finally, he sent back a single emoji, the frozen face. That told me more than a paragraph would have. Is this bad? I typed. Can't discuss here, but check your stub for redistribution codes. If you see one, that's not good. I already knew what I'd find, but I checked anyway. Redist exec stared back at me like a smoking gun. That weekend, I spread everything across my dining room table. Pay stubs, emails, screenshots, system logs. Started building a timeline. Every email, every deflection, every corporate non-answer. 20 years of corporate experience had taught me one thing: document everything. Rachel came over Sunday afternoon with her accountant's eye and a pot of coffee. She looked through my evidence like she was preparing for an audit. Andrew, this isn't sloppy bookkeeping, this is systematic. She pointed to the redistribution code. Your bonus didn't disappear. It got rerouted to executive incentives. See this pattern? They're not just doing it to you. What do you mean? Look at the transaction sequence numbers. BN12 001, BN12 002, BN12 003. That's not one bonus getting redirected. That's multiple bonuses, probably dozens, all going to the same pool. The coffee turned to acid in my stomach. How many people? Hard to say without seeing more data. But Andrew, if they've built a system to systematically redirect employee bonuses to executive compensation, that's fraud. Full stop. Fraud. Not policy, not retention strategy. Fraud. Monday morning, I sent another email to Sarah. This time I was more direct. Sarah, I'm requesting a detailed breakdown of where my processed $12,000 bonus was allocated. The redistribution code suggests it was moved to executive compensation. I need this information by end of week. Her response came back sharp and fast. Due to confidentiality policies, we cannot share details of internal financial allocations. Please trust that everything has been handled according to company policy. Trust. The woman who'd helped steal my money wanted me to trust her. I forwarded the entire email chain to our company's compliance hotline. Didn't know if it would matter, but someone outside Sarah's office needed to see what was happening. That's when things started moving fast. Tuesday morning, my calendar pinged with a meeting invite I wasn't expecting. Clarification meeting. HR conference room. B, 2:00 p.m. Required attendance. Required. Not requested. Required. I printed out everything I had and put it in a folder. If they wanted to play corporate hardball, I'd come prepared. When I walked into conference room B at 2 p.m., Jennifer was already there. Jacket off, sleeves rolled up like she was about to fix a server rack instead of having a conversation about stolen money. Sarah sat beside her with a thick manila folder that probably contained my entire employment history. Take a seat, Andrew, Jennifer said, gesturing to the chair across from them like we were discussing quarterly targets. I placed my own folder on the table, thicker than theirs now. Screenshots, emails, system logs, even a breakdown of redistribution codes I'd researched over the weekend. Sarah started with her practiced HR voice. We've noticed some concerns you've raised about your bonus allocation. We want to make sure there's no misunderstanding here. I didn't let her control the narrative. BN12, manual override, redistribution to executive compensation. That's not a misunderstanding. That's my money being moved to someone else's account. The silence that followed was thick enough to cut with a knife. Jennifer leaned back in her chair. Sometimes employees don't understand how retention bonuses work, Andrew. The company has discretion in how we structure compensation packages. Not everyone needs to see cash immediately. Not everyone? The words came out harder than I intended. So you decided that my son's college tuition could wait while executive bonuses got a boost? Sarah leaned forward. Let's not get emotional about this. Emotional? I opened my folder and pulled out the pay stub. This is math, Sarah. Processed bonus, manual override, executive redistribution. You can call it retention or restructuring or whatever corporate term makes you sleep better, but moving someone's earned bonus without authorization is theft. Jennifer's corporate mask slipped for just a second. Her jaw tightened. Careful, Andrew. Pushing too hard on policies you don't understand can create consequences for your position here. There it was, the threat right out in the open. I pulled out my notebook and wrote down her exact words, along with the date and time. Looked her straight in the eye while I did it. Noted, I said. The temperature in the room dropped about 10 degrees. Sarah shifted in her seat. Andrew, I don't think note-taking is necessary for this discussion. I think it is. For accuracy. Jennifer stood up. We're trying to resolve this amicably. Your attitude isn't helping. That's when 3 sharp knocks came at the door. 2 men in dark suits stepped in without waiting for an answer. Internal compliance, one announced, showing credentials. We'll need this room. All conversations related to BN12 compensation discrepancies are now under legal hold. Sarah's face went white. Jennifer looked like someone had just told her the building was on fire. We're in the middle of a private employee discussion, Jennifer said, trying to maintain her authority. Not anymore, the compliance officer replied. All documentation related to employee bonus allocations needs to be preserved. Please hand over any notes or files you've prepared for this meeting. For the first time since this whole thing started, I felt the momentum shift. Not victory, not yet, but the balance of power was changing. Sarah fumbled with her folder. Jennifer muttered something about overreach and misunderstanding. The compliance officers didn't look impressed. Effective immediately, the second officer said, no deletions, no modifications, no file transfers related to payroll systems. Everything is frozen pending investigation. They didn't ask me for my folder. They already knew who needed watching. After the suits left, the room felt deflated. Sarah mumbled something about following up soon. Jennifer avoided my eyes completely. I stood up slowly, gathered my papers, and headed for the door. Turned back just long enough to say, You were right about one thing, Jennifer. I didn't understand the policies. But I'm learning fast. The investigation moved faster than anyone expected. Within a week, men in suits were setting up in empty offices, pulling server logs, interviewing employees. The office buzz was electric with nervous energy and whispered conversations. Kevin from payroll found me by the coffee machine Wednesday morning. They're pulling transaction histories going back 3 years, he said quietly. Your thing opened up something bigger. Bigger how? Dozens of redirected bonuses, maybe hundreds. The retention pool wasn't just for you. My stomach dropped. How many people? Hard to say. But Andrew, they built an entire secondary compensation system. Executive incentives, VP discretionary funds, even what looks like family member salaries. Family members. I thought about Jennifer's daughter who just graduated college and somehow landed a $75,000 consulting position with no experience. Thursday brought a company-wide email that tried to sound routine. As part of our ongoing commitment to transparency, we're conducting a comprehensive review of our compensation structures. Please preserve all employment-related documentation. People started pulling up their pay stubs, asking questions in the break room. The whispers got louder. Friday afternoon, compliance called me back to a different conference room. 2 auditors with poker faces and stacks of printouts that looked like they'd been working overtime. Mr. Mitchell, can you confirm this is your pay stub? One pointed to my BN12 transaction. Yes, and this is your bank statement for the corresponding period. Correct. They flipped to another page, a spreadsheet showing multiple BN12 transactions. Names were blacked out, but the amounts were visible. $8,000 here, $15,000 there, $12,000, all with the same redistribution codes. What happens to money in the redistribution pool, I asked. The auditor's expression didn't change. That's what we're determining. But I could see the arrows on their flowchart. Money flowing from the retention pool to accounts labeled Executive Enhancement Fund and VP Special Compensation. They weren't just stealing from me, they'd built a systematic machine to siphon employee bonuses into executive pockets. That weekend I sat Matthew down and explained what was happening. He's smart enough to understand both the technical side and the human cost. Dad, how many families got screwed over? We don't know yet, but probably a lot. He was quiet for a minute. Are you going to get your money back? I'm trying. Good. Because this is messed up. Matthew's right. It was messed up. But more than that, it was calculated. Someone had built this system deliberately, knowing exactly what they were taking and from whom. Monday morning brought an email from Sarah that made my blood pressure spike. Andrew, in the interest of resolving this matter efficiently and maintaining positive working relationships, we're prepared to offer a one-time discretionary payment of $12,000 plus $3,000 in goodwill compensation. This offer is contingent on signing a standard confidentiality agreement to protect proprietary company processes. $15,000 to keep quiet about systematic theft. I stared at that email for a long time. 15 grand would cover a lot of Matthew's college expenses, make my life significantly easier, set aside the stress and uncertainty. But if I took it, I'd become part of their cover-up. Every other employee whose bonus got redirected would stay in the dark. Every family struggling with unexpected financial shortfalls would never know why. I wrote back one sentence. I decline to sign any confidentiality agreement. Her response came back within an hour. We strongly recommend you reconsider this decision. This offer may not remain available indefinitely. Another threat. Subtler this time, but unmistakably clear. 2 days later, something interesting happened. The company sent out a carefully worded announcement. Certain year-end bonus allocations did not align with established company policies. Corrective measures are currently being implemented to ensure full compliance with compensation guidelines. Corporate speak for, we got caught. People started asking more questions, pulling older pay stubs, comparing notes in the break room. The investigation had gone from my individual complaint to something much larger, and everyone knew it. By Thursday, the rumors were flying. Jennifer hadn't been seen in the office for 2 days. Sarah was having closed-door meetings with people I'd never seen before. The executive parking spots were empty except for the interim CFO's car. Something big was about to happen. It all came crashing down the week before Christmas. The company-wide email landed in everyone's inbox at 8:47 a.m. on a Tuesday, like a digital bomb going off. Leadership update. Effective immediately, Jennifer Walsh has been terminated for cause. Sarah Collins has submitted her resignation. Interim leadership structure will be announced by end of business today. No details, just cold, corporate language for we caught them stealing. I was sitting at my desk when it hit. 20 years of corporate experience, and I'd never seen anything move this fast. Usually, executives get golden parachutes and quiet departures. This was different. This was public. The office erupted. People crowded around computer screens, Slack channels lighting up with fire emojis and shocked faces. Someone actually started clapping, which made me uncomfortable. This wasn't a celebration. This was the fallout from systematic theft. Kevin from payroll appeared at my cubicle around 10 a.m. They want to see you, he said quietly. Compliance office. Now. The walk down the hall felt like the longest 100 feet of my life. Employees stepped aside as I passed, some nodding, others just staring. Word had gotten out that I was the one who'd started this. Some people probably thought I was a hero. Others probably saw me as the guy who'd gotten their bosses fired. The compliance office had been transformed into a war room. Whiteboards covered with flowcharts, laptops everywhere, stacks of printed documents that reached the ceiling. It looked like something you'd see on a TV show about financial crimes. Mr. Mitchell, one of the auditors said, standing up from behind a desk covered in spreadsheets. We need to walk you through what we found. They laid out the whole operation like a roadmap to hell. The retention pool wasn't just holding my bonus. It was a sophisticated money laundering scheme that had been running for almost 4 years. Conservative estimate, the auditor said, pointing to a summary sheet. Approximately $2.3 million in employee compensation was redirected to unauthorized accounts. $2.3 million. I sat down hard. How many people? I asked. 347 employees over 4 years. Some multiple times, 347 families, people working overtime for bonuses they never saw, parents saving for their kids' education, employees counting on year-end money for medical bills, car repairs, mortgage payments. The auditor flipped to another page. The scheme was sophisticated: executive compensation, family member salaries, even contractor payments to shell companies owned by relatives. Jennifer hadn't just stolen bonuses. She'd built an entire shadow payroll system, funneling employee money into her personal network: her daughter's consulting fees, her brother's marketing company, her ex-husband's IT services contract. "What happens now?" I asked. "Criminal referral to the DA's office, civil recovery proceedings, and full restitution to affected employees." That afternoon, they called me back for one more meeting. Different room this time, with the interim CFO and two people I'd never seen before, lawyers from the look of them. "Mr. Mitchell," the CFO said, sliding an envelope across the table, "we want to personally apologize for what happened and ensure you're made whole." Inside was a letter on company letterhead. "TechFlow Solutions sincerely regrets the mishandling of your compensation. You will receive $12,000 in back pay plus $8,000 in compensatory damages for the inconvenience and stress caused by this situation. $20,000 total." But more important was the second page, a signed acknowledgement that systematic irregularities in bonus allocation affected multiple employees and that everyone would receive full restitution. "There's more," the CFO continued. "We're implementing a complete overhaul of our compensation systems: external auditing, quarterly reviews, transparent bonus calculations. What happened here will never happen again." I looked at the check. More money than I'd seen in one place for years, but something felt incomplete. What about the others? The 347 people? Everyone gets made whole. Full restitution plus damages. We're sending letters out this week. That evening, I drove home with the check in my jacket pocket. Matthew was in the kitchen doing homework, textbooks spread across the counter. "Dad, you look different." "Different how?" "I don't know. Like you just won something." I pulled out the check and showed him. His eyes went wide. "Holy crap, Dad. Is this real?" "It's real, and it's going into your college fund." He was quiet for a minute, studying the numbers. "This is because you fought them, right? You didn't let them keep your money?" "That's right." "Good. I'm proud of you." Hearing that from my 17-year-old son meant more than the money. Matthew had watched his dad stand up when it mattered, refuse to be silenced, fight for what was right. That's worth more than any bonus. The next few weeks were surreal. Local news picked up the story. Tech company executive fired for bonus theft scheme. I got calls from reporters, job recruiters, even a lawyer asking if I wanted to pursue additional damages. But the call that mattered came from a competitor. TechFlow's scandal had made industry headlines and other companies were paying attention. They offered me a senior director position with a 30% salary increase and bulletproof bonus protections written into my contract. "We need people with integrity," the hiring manager said. "People who do the right thing when it costs them something." I didn't hesitate. My last day at TechFlow was anticlimactic. Cleaned out my desk, returned my badge, walked through the same lobby where Jennifer had humiliated me at that holiday party, but this time I was walking out on my terms. The security guard at the front desk nodded as I passed. "Good luck, Mr. Mitchell. What you did took guts." In the parking lot, I sat in my car for a minute and thought about the past few months. Started with a simple question about a missing bonus, ended with criminal charges, $2.3 million in restitution, and 347 families getting their money back. Sometimes the system works, if you push hard enough and document everything. By New Year's, the story had spread through the industry. Other companies started auditing their own systems. HR departments implemented new oversight procedures. Executive compensation became more transparent. Jennifer Walsh was facing federal charges. Sarah Collins was cooperating with prosecutors in exchange for reduced charges. The shell companies were being dissolved, assets seized. Justice served cold with a side of spreadsheets and bank records. Matthew started getting his college acceptance letters in February. UT Austin Computer Science program, his first choice. Full tuition covered, plus enough left over for a decent laptop and maybe even a car if he kept his grades up. But more than that, he'd learn something valuable. Sometimes doing the right thing costs you in the short term, but in the long run, integrity pays dividends that compound over time. The recruiter from DataStream Solutions called me on a Friday afternoon in March. I was cleaning out my garage, trying to make space for Matthew's college stuff, when my phone rang. Andrew, I know you just started with us, but I wanted to give you a heads up. The TechFlow story made it into Harvard Business Review. They're calling it a case study in corporate whistleblowing. I stopped sorting through old boxes. Seriously? Page 47, this month's issue. The $2.3 million question, when employee advocacy transforms corporate culture. They interviewed you without naming you directly. That weekend, I drove to Barnes & Noble and bought a copy. There it was, a 6-page analysis of what they called the TechFlow incident. They'd changed names and details, but the story was unmistakable. A mid-level manager questioning a missing bonus, systematic investigation revealing widespread fraud, criminal prosecution, industry-wide policy changes. The article ended with a quote that made me smile. Sometimes the most important business decisions happen when individual employees refuse to accept "that's just how things work" as an answer. Matthew read it over my shoulder. Dad, you're famous. Anonymously famous. The best kind. He laughed. Still counts. Spring brought more developments. Jennifer Walsh pled guilty to wire fraud and embezzlement. 18 months federal prison, full restitution to victims, lifetime ban from corporate officer positions. Sarah Collins got probation and community service for cooperation. The shell companies were dissolved, assets liquidated. Even Jennifer's daughter had to pay back the consulting fees she'd received for work she never actually did. Justice doesn't always have to be complicated. But the real impact wasn't the criminal cases. It was the policy changes rippling through the industry. Companies started implementing real-time bonus transparency. External auditing became standard. Employee compensation committees gained actual oversight authority. Kevin from payroll, now at a different company, sent me an article from CFO Magazine about the TechFlow effect. Dozens of companies had discovered their own retention pool irregularities after implementing new audit procedures. You started something bigger than you realized, he texted. Maybe. Or maybe I just got lucky that someone was finally paying attention. The real test came that fall when Matthew started at UT. Move-in day was chaos. Parents everywhere, kids looking excited and terrified in equal measure. But when I handed over the tuition check, knowing it was covered completely, that felt like victory. Dad, Matthew said as we finished setting up his dorm room, I've been thinking about what happened with your company. Yeah? You could have just taken their hush money and stayed quiet. 15 grand would have been a lot easier. I sat on his desk chair, looking around the room that my fight had made possible. Easier isn't always better, son, I know, but most people would have taken the money. Maybe, but most people haven't raised a kid who's watching how they handle being pushed around. He was quiet for a minute. You did it for me? I did it because it was right. But yeah, knowing you were watching definitely made it easier to do the right thing. That Christmas, exactly 1 year after Jennifer's question started everything, my new company threw their holiday party at a nice hotel downtown. No forced team building, no awkward conversations, just good food and people who seemed to actually like working together. The CEO made a toast about integrity and transparency, mentioned how the industry had been awakened to the importance of ethical compensation practices. Didn't name TechFlow directly, but everyone knew what he meant. Afterward, Rachel Martinez, who'd helped me understand the financial details in the beginning, came over with her husband. Andrew, I have to ask, any regrets about how it all went down? I thought about it. Honestly, I wish I'd figured it out sooner. 347 people got their money stolen before I stumbled across it. But you did figure it out, and you didn't let them buy your silence. True, sometimes doing the right thing means accepting that you can't fix everything, just the piece in front of you. These days I get occasional emails from people who were affected by the TechFlow situation. A single mother whose stolen bonus would have covered her son's medical expenses. A guy close to retirement whose missing money was supposed to go into his 401k. Families who'd been struggling financially and never understood why their expected bonuses never materialized. Most of them just say thank you. Some share their own stories about workplace irregularities they've since reported. The ripple effects keep spreading. Matthew's doing well in college. Computer science suits him. He's got my analytical mind, but better people skills. Last semester, he called to tell me about a group project where one team member was trying to take credit for everyone else's work. I shut it down, Dad, documented everything, Took it to the professor. The guy got a 0 on the project. Good for you. I kept thinking about what you always say. Sometimes you have to be willing to make enemies to do the right thing. Do I say that? Maybe I do now. Looking back, the whole thing started with a simple question about missing money and ended up changing how an entire industry thinks about employee compensation. Not bad for a 49-year-old operations manager who just wanted to pay for his kids' college. The money was important, don't get me wrong. $20,000 changed my family's financial situation significantly, but what mattered more was proving that sometimes, if you're stubborn enough and document everything, individual employees can take on corporate corruption and win. That's a lesson worth teaching your kids. Last month, Matthew called with news about his summer internship applications. Dad, one of the companies asked specifically about my background. Turns out the hiring manager read about the TechFlow case and wanted to meet the son of the guy who wouldn't stay quiet. Did you get the internship? Yeah. They said they want people who understand that doing the right thing matters more than keeping people comfortable. Sounds like I raised him right. These days, when people ask me about what happened at TechFlow, I tell them it's simple. Sometimes you have to choose between being liked and being right. Most of the time, being right is more expensive in the short term, but it pays better dividends over the long haul. And if you're lucky, your kids are watching when you make that choice.